Hi lovely people! This week I'm doing something a little bit different and I am looking at the top 10 lowest rated books on my TBR pile.
Sophie Vlogs.
I recently watched this video on Leanne Rose's channel. I'll leave a link below. She's cracking channel. Lovely book talks, yes. I just found it interesting because she said a very valid thing, which was that, like, of these 10 books, I still want to read all of these books. It's just interesting to see and consider why they might be slightly lower rated than other books. I don't know. Number one, there are books which have been very highly rated on Goodreads which I have not enjoyed, and I'm sure vice versa. I still do want to read all of these books, but I will also say that actually in my head, none of these are super low, because they're all above a 3. And to me, like, a 3-star book is like a perfectly enjoyable read. It's just not like, that's a special thing. So that's probably enough of a ramble. I just thought this would be interesting. I'll just dive into it. Coming in at number 10 is a book that I hauled very recently, and that is Gluck, Her Biography by Diana Souhami. I don't think I mentioned in the haul I did, I actually think I forgot to say, but I was interested in this because there was a BBC documentary which was looking at Gluck during Pride season, which was looking at her sexual identity and her gender identity, and like just having a bit of a chat about it. So I picked this up because I found that very interesting. Gluck is an artist who was born in 1895. She sort of challenged conventions at the time. She wore suits when women weren't supposed to wear suits. She had relationships with other women, and so she's just someone who I want to find out more about. This came in with a 3.59 rating, which probably means it's just going to be a perfectly enjoyable biography, but maybe if you're a Gluck superfan it might not be brilliant. I don't know, but we're going to find out. Okay, coming in at number 9 is Mastering the Art of French Eating, Lessons in Food and Love from a Year in Paris by Anne Ma. This was originally owned by my mum. She gave it to me. I don't know if she read it or not, but she was doing a bit of a book clear out. I picked this up at the same time as she gave me Julia Child's Mastering the Art of French Cooking, so I just thought, once I've read that, this might be quite a fun read. I don't actually know anything about the author, so who knows. I think maybe it's part like memoir, part food writing. Maybe people didn't really like either of those things. I don't know. I'm still gonna give it a read and check it out and see what it's like. This came in at a 3.57 on Goodreads. Following on from that, we have Boating for Beginners, which came in at 3.56. By Jeanette Winterson. This was Jeanette Winterson's first fiction book that she got published. If I remember rightly, I read somewhere, potentially the introduction to my copy of Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit, or her autobiography, Why Be Happy When You Could Be Normal, that Jeanette Winterson herself doesn't love this one. So that's, you know, a ringing endorsement from the author. But I think it's always interesting to read someone's early work once you've read their later work and just see, like, what seeds are in this that might have been picked up and explored fuller in other books and stuff like that. Like, as far as I'm aware, this is a rewrite of the Book of Genesis, that sort of thing. So, like, Jeanette Winterson, due to her upbringing, seems to be someone who is very concerned with, like, Christian, like, text and story and that sort of thing, and reworking them. So I'm still interested to see what this is like. Coming in with the same score, 3.56, is a book that I'm actually currently reading, but it's not finished yet, so I still count it as my TBR. And that's Edmund Spenser's The Faerie Queene. I have been reading this for a while because I only dip into it occasionally because it's like an epic poem from the Elizabethan age. The language I really like, but it is difficult sometimes. So I have a feeling that maybe this is slightly lower rated because it is a giant epic poem in, like, Elizabethan verse, which I can understand is not everyone's cup of tea. I personally am enjoying dipping in and out and reading it aloud. I find reading it aloud makes it a bit more accessible and that sort of thing. I can follow what's happening a bit more because I'm, like, reading and processing and that sort of thing. So, yes, but interesting that this is on the same level as Jeanette Winterson's. I think that's a compliment because I'm really enjoying this. Another 3.56 rating is The Party Dress, A History of Fashionable Occasions by, who is this by? I don't actually know. The author is not readily of Alexandra Black. This is a big chunky book. I've had this for years. I got given it as a present when I was like a young teenager, and I read bits of it, but I don't really remember it very well, and I'd like to dip into it again. It has really gorgeous, like, full page illustrations is what I'm struggling to show you. And I just think it should be quite interesting and light and nice. After that, we have a 3.54 rating, which is Indigo by Marina, which is another book that I hauled recently, which is a revisiting of The Tempest, looking at like themes of like colonialism and stuff like that by Marina. I'm super hyped for this one, although I haven't read The Tempest yet, so I'm definitely I want to prioritise reading this one soon, but I want to read The Tempest soon as well. I've never read any of Marina Warner's fiction, I've only read her non-fiction, so I'm personally interested to see what she writes like as a fiction writer, because I found her really accessible as a non-fiction writer, so I want to see how that translates. Coming in at number 4 with a 3.53 rating, we have the Pendragon Chronicles, edited by Mark Ashley. This is an anthology of Arthurian stories. I can sort of understand how anthologies and stuff would score lower on Goodreads because, like, there's so many different authors contributing that you're going to like some, you're not going to like others, and how good you think an anthology is will be influenced by that. So I'm not too surprised about this ending up a bit lower down. I personally just really like Arthuriana, so my aim with this is to dip in, see how other people have interpreted it, and hopefully discover some authors who I then might want to go and like explore further. That's how I generally deal with anthologies and stuff, is just like, here's a jumping off point, let's introduce ourselves to some things, and we don't, because like you can skip any stories you're not really liking and you can go find the ones that you do like, and then you can like jump off from there. On a related note, the next 2 books are also anthologies. Coming in at number 4 with a 3.44 rating, we have Ovid Metamorphosed, edited by Philip Terry. I'm still super excited about this one because this is an anthology of people reinterpreting tales from Ovid's Metamorphoses, which is one of my faves. Love that. So again, similar. This one and the next one, all 3 of these anthologies are just like, here's a topic which I like, here's an anthology which explores the topic, and I just want to discover some more writers and stuff. So again, I'll just lead straight into number 2, which comes in with a 3.40 rating, and that's Midsummer Night, edited by Jeanette Winterson. This one is retellings of opera stories in short story form. So like, Arthuriana, Ovid, and opera are all 3 things which I'm super into. So all these anthologies, I'm not super surprised that they're lower down because there'll be a mixed bag for sure, but I'm still really excited about the topics and to explore the authors within them, so still thrilled. And finally, my number 1 lowest rated book on my to-read list with a 3.33 rating is The Feed by... Who you buy? Why is it so hard for me to turn these pages to find? Nick Clark Windo. I got given this book. I went to like a blogger event, or rather Leah Dudish brought me along to a blogger event that she was invited to, and I like hopped in and was like, hey guys, can I have some books? Thanks. I didn't actually speak to Nick, but I did speak to some of the other authors there. So this is about your knowledge, your memories, your dreams. If all that you are is on the feed, who are you when the feed goes down? Which I'm still intrigued by this. I gather it's like a sort of maybe slightly dystopia, like sci-fi type thing where we're overly reliant on technology and then it all goes down, and like how do you cope with the resulting chaos? That's my understanding. I'm still excited to dip into it. It's not top of my priority list, I will say that. But I think the overwhelming thoughts I have is just like, I can understand how a lot of these will be on the lower end of my TBR. It's not bothering me. I'm still going to read them all. I think I just like excuses to go through the TBR. I tend to like arrange like my box with like stuff I want to prioritize on top, and then that does mean that stuff that's like underneath can like get forgotten about a little bit. So I like doing things like this because it causes me to like go through everything and rejuvenate, and like some of these I'm really excited to read, so I'm probably going to get around to reading them sooner than I would have if they stayed at the bottom of my little pile. So yes, expect to see some of these popping up in some book chats, in some roundups when I have eventually got round to them. How about you? Do you find things like this interesting? Is this something that like you don't care about at all? Because like I don't really look at ratings before I read the book. It's more like after I've read the book, I assess how I feel about it, and then I like to read other people's thoughts and things and just sort of like compare, like, is my, like, how did my reading experience compare with, like, other people, that sort of thing. I don't know. I'm going to leave it here, because I feel like I'm going into ramble territory. Suffice to say, hope you're good, hope you're enjoying this, and I'll see you next week for something a bit different.